We're in. We're live. Hello.
No. Hello, everybody.
Hello, everybody that's not there at the moment. But they might. They might.
It's soon to join.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, it's been a while. And last week, when I joined on to Jackie's stream and that, I had such a great day afterwards. You know what I mean? You're talking to people.
Yep,
You know, and that's what I think. That's what the streams, the value of the streams are. Is communicating with
absolutely.
people. You know,
Hmm.
if you measure everything value wise, money wise, kind of thing, like facts and figures, YouTube wise, you don't get as much value out of it. I think the value in it is communicating with other people. Mark and Annette, hello. You're
Hey,
very
Mike and
welcome.
Annette. Absolutely, I agree. I think that for some of us coming up here, it's or even watching, it's a learning process, but it's also socializing with other people as well. There's so
Yeah.
much to it. Yeah.
Carl Sturgis is in the house. Hello, Carl.
Hi, Carl.
I'm
Thank you
a
for
bit
joining
rusty.
us.
I'm a bit rusty at the live streams because it's been a while.
That's okay.
I've taken an extended holiday, but I do you know that story I told about the lamp, taking the I must have played that about 10 times from last week. I took that little clip and I put it on the channel and then a link to the stream.
The flashing wardrobe.
That was flipping hilarious. Like when you don't plan a stream, you just don't know what's going to happen, really.
And they're the best streams. They really are.
Oh yeah, there's no script here because we just come on. We might have a vague idea what we're talking about, but
Yep.
in general, we just have a chat. You know,
Yep. We absolutely do.
I recently done a video. I done it very late last night, so not many people have seen it. Um, things are kicking up over here, especially across the border. Where do you know when we had the boom times, the economy shot up? Was it 2010?
Yes.
Well, there was a lot of houses built around that time. The big problem was there's some component, some chemical called mica
Hmm.
that was in some of the concrete blocks, and a lot of these houses were built. And you might as well have built them out of Weetabix, like wheat biscuits. The concrete, this mica destroys the concrete, and the houses start cracking
Oh
and
no.
falling apart. Me and Rachel, we went to this housing estate, and we done this video, and our understanding of it at the time was these contractors were building these houses so quickly and so shoddily that they fell apart. The real story is much more deeper than that. A lot of people got really badly stung. So I think there is some sort of protest on Friday to the
Yep.
capital city in Dublin uh, about about the government stepping in and trying to sort this out because people are buying brand new houses and they're splitting, you know, and it's the biggest investment of your life.
Yep.
So I hope people get sorted.
I hope so. I hope so too. Yeah.
Dana's in the house from Belfast. Dana is she has two of my pups. When my dog had pups a couple of years ago, Dana took
Oh.
two of them. She's a friend of mine from Belfast, and I haven't seen them in such a long time. So hello.
I didn't even know that your dog had pups. There you go. You learn
My
something
do-
new
my
every day.
dog my dog had two little pups actually, uh,
Yep.
but this was way back when I had two dogs. The other dog was a little bit on the randy side.
No. The young days.
Oh, you know when you have a small apartment and you have a dog that has pups and it has 4 or 5 pups.
Mhm.
It's like a full-time job
It's
with
like a
all.
kindergarten. It gets
Oh
chaotic.
yeah, and just before that, I was looking after a dog for a family whose house flooded. I mean, like their house really flooded. I mean, their car and their driveway raised off the ground and turned like that and went down when the water went down. I mean, like, you're talking a couple of feet up the wall. Everything got destroyed, and they
Oh,
had just
no.
yeah, they just had got this pup for the kids, and they just had got this pup for the kids and that, and they had to temporarily move into the parents' house. So I had to look after this dog, and it was a mad as a hatter. This thing, you know. So I had they arrived at my house with a pup on the palm of their hand, and when they left 6 months later, they were
Carrying a
struck.
hefty thing.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, The two pups that Dana has is Ziggy and Gizmo. You know,
Carl says, "Are you allowed to say Randy on YouTube?" I
I'll.
certainly hope so.
I mean, Randy is actually a name.
Yeah.
It's a name in the United States.
Good old Randy from high school.
If if you had if you had so much censorship like that, then you start having problems. I mean, like YouTube is kind of a bit iffy about a lot of things, but you can't. Do you know what I mean? It's.
You can't
I
censor
don't know.
everything.
You can't,
No,
and you can't have you can't have automatic systems filtering out everything because you'd have nothing left.
exactly.
Do you know?
Yeah. This is where half the spontaneity comes from, not having to script everything and censor everything.
Carl was asking me, have you tried using camera onto TV, the video loop effect? I have a number of times actually, and what I did was I used a projector. Did you ever hear of loop the loop effect? It's ITC method.
No, I knew that you were working with the sound and the static on the TV.
There's a guy called, I can't remember his first name, Schreider. I think his
Mhm.
second name was Schreider. He was getting images of past family members coming up on a solid state TV by looping the TV to a video camera, and the video camera is recording the TV screen. So basically, the camera is recording itself, and
Yep.
it sort of goes into a loop, sort of a thing. Um, I have solid state TVs. I've used a number of different things. I've used the flat screen too. You can use a flat screen if you have a HDMI cable,
Yep.
that and a HDMI socket on your camera. You can actually do it pretty cheaply. You just have to get the cable and the proper sort of socket in that, and you can do it on your flat screen TV. But what I done, it was at the big. I think it was at the beginning of lockdown. I think it was. I have a projector, and I was projecting the image up on the wall of what I was recording. Actually, do you
Oh,
know?
wow.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to go
but
back and watch that because I have not seen anyone do that.
yeah, I mean, like it's not YouTube entertaining stuff. It's just me doing ITC, which
Mm,
you know,
research.
if I feel like doing something, it may not be that entertaining, but I'm just going to do it anyway because sometimes it's just with the paranormal, it isn't that exciting. it's research, and sometimes it comes up boring, you know.
Mhm.
But that's what the paranormal is. It's not this every time you go out, everything's scary and stuff like that. That's what viewers that view, there some viewers understand what the
Yep.
paranormal is. Some viewers think paranormal, scary content. Let's scare ourselves tonight, like as if they were watching a
Mhm.
movie and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, you know.
Hollywood. Yeah.
Oh, the
Yeah. Holly.
spectacle. Yeah, Carl was saying about the spectrogram program. It's the same one day. Yeah, I have this. I have a spectrogram app on my phone and that, and I sometimes turn it on when I'm doing a session and that. You might have seen, Julie. I don't know. I've done some sessions where there's this graph. It's a
Yep.
visual impression of audio. It actually gives you a picture of audio, and
Yep.
actually, some bands, a few bands have actually put hidden messages in the spectrogram. So if you played their album, you would see these messages come up on your screen.
Oh, wow.
It must be really, really difficult to do. I mean, like you must be really, really, to get the right frequencies to make the letters to make these messages and stuff like that. But and
Absolutely.
I did do a video on it. I actually used somebody else's video, and I thought this has to be fake. But I put on a spectrogram, fed the audio from this video, and I was getting the same picture come up on my phone through the spectrogram.
Oh, wow.
It wasn't as good as the YouTube video, but it still came up. Yeah, it definitely a thing.
I'm not sure what it's called, but like the old style TV, the old analog TVs, and you put, I call them the ants racing. The dots, the static on the TV, and
Yeah, it's
sometimes, yeah, I've seen some people recording, and they'd have a spirit box, and I don't know if it was plugged into the TV or not, but every now and again you would see what could appear to be a face in the static.
yeah, it's a bit like direct radio voice, except in
Yep.
imaging. You know,
Yep.
you need a solid state TV for that. You need the old fashioned TV for that because I don't think in most TV flat screen TVs you won't get that static unless. Well, sometimes you can. Some of them they don't. They just go black. You know.
Yeah, black or blue. Yeah.
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 Yeah. I have one under here actually, a solid state TV, but this was designed to put in a caravan or an automobile way back in the 1980s, and it's a solid state TV.
Oh, that's old school.
Yeah, it works off 12 volts.
Yep.
You can put batteries in it. People had them in their cars, which seems a bit bulky to have in a car, but you can bring it on holidays with you. You can have it in a caravan. And way back when we had analog TV, you could put up your aerial and move it about and get your stations and stuff.
That's brilliant,
You
isn't
know,
it? Mm.
and um, if you're not inclined to buy something like that, what we have is pocket TVs. This one is absolutely brilliant because connect a you can connect your spur box up to the AV on these. There's an AV socket on these, but these are these, and the screen reacts to the sound that's been fed into them.
Oh, wow.
You got UHF and VHF, and actually there is, even though there's no analog TV,
Mhm.
I'm still getting some sort of a radio station coming through, and you don't. It's like a spirit box without FM and AM, if you know what I mean. It's a VHF and UHF acting like a spirit box because when you turn it on, it automatically it automatically scans. You can see the line going across.
Yep.
You can get these for about £5 in on eBay. I don't know if anyone can you hear it?
I can hear it, yeah.
Yeah, it's red is VHF and green is UHF. So I'm gonna go green. You might hear the station coming up. But if you have something coming up on this, no, it's not catching the station this morning.
No, not yet.
Let's give it one more scan here.
Oh,
Yeah, something came up there. That is a radio station, though.
is it?
Yeah, it is definitely a radio station. You see, you get a visuals of where it's scanning. You get this line. I don't know if the camera's picking up. There's a red line going across the screen, and that's it scanning.
Oh, yeah, you can see it when you hold it sideways. Yep.
Yeah. Basically, what happens there is it scans for a TV station, and when it gets a strong signal, it'll stop, and it'll stop on that station. But because we got no analog TV anymore, and just very weak radio station comes up, it'll scan through it. So it's not modified. It's just the TV out of the box, and the serial number of anyone's interested is it's the Citizen Pocket, and the model number is P422-1B. It's an experimental thing. It's like the Spurt box for FM and AM, but it's with VHF and UHF, which you're going to get less stuff on. But if you're working with direct radio voice, you can't go wrong for something that's under a tenner because nobody sort of wants these. They're not useful for anything. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep. I know exactly
Now,
what you mean.
if you go to a place and you have the antenna up and the radio station is up to a certain strength, it may stop on it. And you just press and scan again. But in general, it'll just scan past it. For me, it just scans past it. But that's a spur box for less than £10, and you don't have
Yeah,
to do
cheap.
anything. And you get a visuals as well. I bought two of them, and the first one that I bought, I tried it out in Rachel's house. It arrived at Rachel's house. And I actually did have an image come up on it, and I'm thinking, if there's no analog TV, how is this image coming up? So you
Yeah.
got the best of both worlds. You got a scanning UHF, VHF, and you got a little screen. that you might be able to do visual ITC with, But these things, they were a great idea at the time. But
Yep.
a couple of years later, analog went to digital and just left these things obsolete. So
Yeah. Well, back then, then we started getting into iPhones and iPads, and people didn't need things like that anymore because your phone does everything now. So,
yeah.
yeah.
Hello, Jackie.
Carl said, when Rob Hernandez says he uses an open radio channel, what does that entail? Is it just having a radio off a station?
Open channel. I'm not 100% sure, actually.
Hmm.
Not 100% sure. Um, Rob has come up with this. He's come up with this. He come up with this little box and that, and he's getting great stuff from it. But I yet have to get my head around it, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Um, he Rob Hernandez, if you can't remember, is the guy who made two of my spurt boxes.
Yes.
The ones that we've used in the past and that, and I've given a break for the last month because I haven't done any sessions. But um, he wanted to think outside the box, and which is a great thing.
Hmm.
You can have people come up and hack all kinds of radios and make all sorts of spurt boxes. But at the end of the day, you have to think: are we going around in circles here? And
Exactly.
it's good that somebody is thinking outside the box in that kind of regard, thinking outside of scanning radio, and
Hmm.
still using radio. Um, you know, I think I think in the future what we're going to see is, uh, you know, software defined radios being used more.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
find that whenever we, whether you change spirit boxes or whether you change devices that you're using to try to communicate with the spirits, it takes a little while as well to adapt to the different noise that the boxes create.
I have to.
Um,
There's somebody at my door. I'll be back
Go
in a
for
sec.
it. Go for it. Hi, everybody. Hi, Rose. Hi. Welcome to the stream. I've been using his frequencies that he sent us, and a voice boomed through and said, "Hello, human." Nearly crapped myself. That's actually kind of interesting too, Carl, because me, Sam, and Brett as well have had past conversations where we've kind of spoken and said, "Well, how do we know it's really human entities that are speaking with us through these boxes? Maybe it's um another kind of entity. Maybe it's UFOs. I mean, who knows?
Yeah, sorry about that. The
That's
postman.
all right.
Um, we get evidence at times that they say we're dead and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But we're humans. We need to see things
Mhm.
in order to believe, sort of thing. A lot of the time.
Yeah.
So our is there a parallel universe that we're tapping into of some kind? We
Mhm.
just don't know. Hello, Rose. Hell House Paranormal Rose.
Yeah. Yeah. I've
Um,
known Rose for a while.
yeah. My brain's not working at the moment. Because it's morning and I only got up about an hour ago. Um,
That's all right.
there was this guy. He was an ITC researcher, and his wife had passed away. And he was getting communication up to a certain point, and then he stopped getting that communication. And he had come up with the theory that these it's like when the energy passes on, it has to go somewhere, basically.
Yeah.
And in the afterlife, there is steps. There's different levels of existence, or parallel universes, if you know what I mean. And when you get to a certain level, you can't communicate through a spirit box anymore.
Yeah.
But that was his theory from a long time ago. You know,
Mhm.
when it comes to ITC and the paranormal, way back before, things like the TV, like Ghost Adventures and all that kind of stuff. Before that, it was more raw. People were
Yeah.
not able to. How can we present this to television? So it was a bit topsy turvy kind of thing. But a lot of the old researchers have a lot of information that we can use today, but a lot of people just don't go there for some reason.
Yeah, I really feel like nobody's going to have definitive answers until we ourselves get to the other side and we know what it's like. But
Yeah,
while we're here and we're living beings, I think that the ITC research that so many of you guys are doing, and all the paranormal work, the real work that people are doing, is going to go a long way into researching the field further and finding out more and more as we go. I mean, in just a couple of centuries, look at how much information we've accumulated.
yeah.
So yeah.
I think I like to look at the paranormal as science kind of thing, but there is another
Mhm.
aspect to it. There's another fate to it. There's something outside science where science doesn't fit in there. But at the
Yeah.
same time, if at all possible, to go down the science route as much as possible. At the
Yeah.
same time, fate, it's good to have it, but it's like the paranormal itself. You're putting belief into something that you believe in, where the evidence isn't fully there, kind of thing. You feel it inside.
Exactly.
You know,
Yep.
so there is that's where science gets a little bit complicated when it comes to the paranormal, because science can only go so far, and they've been
Mhm.
always confused with the paranormal. It's something, no matter how much they try, they still can't get their head around it.
Yep.
Now there's a series, I've mentioned it a couple of times, uh the Secrets of Skinwalker Ranch,
Yeah.
where the guy who bought Skinwalker Ranch brought in scientists to investigate the paranormal, and they actually made TV series out of it. And these scientists are doing the paranormal investigating, but it's almost completely different to what people do in a paranormal investigating. You know,
Yep.
we're talking about, yes, you're out in the middle of nowhere and you're getting a very high EMF readings
Mhm.
and radiation of sorts, gamma radiation coming from certain spots. And instead of just having the hand tools, they will put sensors in balloons and send them up the way,
Mhm.
because maybe the source isn't on the ground, that it's actually in the air. So they,
Mm.
instead of just, we're us as amateurs and not scientists, we may have our handheld gadgets and that. We
Yep.
can we can scan the ground, we can scan the area that we can walk on, but the scientists can have these sensors on these balloons and send them skyward.
Yep.
And then it's all linked up to these laptops. These investigations the setup for these is a table with loads of screens and laptops and stuff that we most likely can't afford.
They have a lot of gear.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
but you know, you know, even though we can't afford these things, thinking down those lines in some sort of way is a good idea, because what I think is happening a lot of the time is to go on to eBay and Amazon to buy a RAM pod, PSP 7, a K2 meter, and all the stuff made famous by TV shows like Ghost Adventures and that is their kit.
Mhm.
Each piece of equipment, you have to know exactly what it does.
Yeah.
And when you know exactly what it does, you'll find out that the K2 meter isn't an accurate way to measure EMF. It's good as a trigger object. Like you leave out a REM pod and you get and because you can see it in the dark and it lights up. It's a
Mhm.
great trigger object. But along with the K2 meter, have a digital EMF meter as well. So you can, when if it goes off on the K2, you can measure exactly what it is with
Mhm.
another device. Always have
Yep.
one backing up the other. And then you can measure the area around where you can sort of make out a map of where the EMF is.
Mhm.
But very often it comes to a point where you can't get it anymore. And it's very, very hard to pinpoint EMF. But then
Yeah.
again, we're quickly going into a needle in a haystack situation, because we've got so much cell towers, we've got so many electronic devices around, you know, radio signals and stuff like that.
Mhm.
I heard somebody even saying, you can get devices that can tell you what kind of EMF it is. Is it radio? Is it, and that. Um, it's good to measure it and that, but what do we actually get from it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. See, I think that in the world as we are, and in the world of social media, I think that the K2, the EMF meter, is used very loosely. And I don't think that a lot of people really know how to use it correctly. For instance, as you said, if you walk into a building, the first thing you do, you should know the electrics. Is there power to the building? Is there not? Where are the power points? What is affecting the building? Are there radio towers nearby? There's a lot that goes into it. And you need your baseline readings as well. A lot of people don't do this kind of stuff. They'll walk in and they'll walk around until they get a spike. They'll kind of have a look around. Oh, there's nothing there. It must be something paranormal. But there's just so much more that goes into it that's not looked at or not thought about at the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean,
Mm.
like, I think it was about 10 years ago where somebody had came up with this. It was a very crude device, but it was flipping genius at the same time.
Hmm.
It was made from wood and wire and stuff, and it had a little bit of a circuit, and it was connected up to a laptop.
Yep.
But they were actually able to see Wi-Fi. Now this
Hmm.
is over 10 years ago, so they were able to see Wi-Fi signal in a visual kind of sense with this crude device that was linked up to a computer. That may not help us directly with paranormal research, but it there's something in that makes us think, if it can pick up Wi-Fi energy, could it be adapted for other kinds of energy and stuff?
Hmm.
You know,
Yep.
there's so many things that are on the brink of being brilliant. You know,
Yep.
you take SLS camera, which isn't great. You need people are walking around, moving it about and stuff, and it needs to reset. So you need it's a camera that needs to be still. A lot of people, they build a camera and they put a handle on it and they walk around, and every time they move it, it has to reset. But people, it's got a bad rap, and then people now are calling it a 3D camera, and that's exactly what it is.
Mhm.
There's other programs there other than the Stickman figure thing that comes up that we can look at other than the Stickman, because it is a 3D mapping piece of software. It's a 3D mapping camera, and it's a pretty good camera.
Yep.
I know somebody that was interested in doing 3D modeling and stuff, making models and stuff, and they were scanning objects, and that technology can be pretty good if worked in a good way. You know, there could be, the software could be worked on. There's so many things that you could do
Mhm.
to get that better than what it is.
Yep.
People think that directly that the stick man is actually the ghost. It's the software trying to make sense of something that is picked up.
Yep.
And that could be markings on a wall, a shape, a piece of furniture. Chairs is a classic one. A lot of people are picking up figures on chairs, but you have to really, really study it, and then you'll find sometimes that what they're actually doing is mapping the chair. You know,
Mm.
but the camera is a fantastic piece of kit, and it could be advanced further. You know,
Yep.
even a lot of things they don't work, but it's an idea that's got absolutely massive potential. If something doesn't work, try something else with it. Just don't throw it out the window. And I wouldn't throw out a 3D mapping camera. It's pretty a pretty awesome piece of kit.
Mhm.
It's just that the current form, you have to really, really understand how it works.
Yeah.
It's constantly calibrating. If you keep moving it, it's going to constantly calibrate. It's going to try to make sense out of something, you know?
Yep.
But it's got potential, like all these other things, you know?
Yep.
It's bringing that forward. You know, it's bringing that forward. You know, some people are sent items, paranormal pieces of equipment that they've come up with, and they'll go, "Oh, it doesn't work," or whatever. That's not a way to sort of review or give feedback to a product where you're asked to test it. I actually was asked, could I be a tester for a piece of equipment? Now, maybe the piece of equipment may not work or may work, but you're being trusted to test a piece of equipment.
Mhm.
What you do is you give them the negative, you give them the positive,
Mhm.
and you give them feedback of what might work better.
Yep.
That's testing.
Mhm.
The reason why you're giving the product is because they want to know from you. Telling them it doesn't work isn't going to help them.
Yep. It's like a camera. You get a camera, you test it. How easy is it to use? How did it function? Does it do the job it's supposed to do? What can we do to make it better?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think, over the years, what we're trying to get is audio and visuals. A lot of people want to get proof of the paranormal. They want to get proof of spirits. What the two things that they want overall is they want to hear it and they want to see it. And I think that's what we need to be concentrating on. Yes, we can pick up data from other devices and stuff, but does that really get us what we want?
Yeah.
Do you know?
Yep. And what Carl just said, he said, I know people say about all Spirit Box apps, say that about all Spirit Box apps, but I don't care what anyone says. Some of them work. Some of them do work. I think it goes back to what Sam was saying before, is the fact that sometimes we get results with something and we firmly believe that we know we got results, but it's bordering on what you know and what you can prove as well. But this is why I love all the electronic things we have and all the bits and pieces, is because I feel like if spirits can manipulate one electrical device, why can't they manipulate another? It's just a matter of tweaking it, I guess, to a point.
Yeah. I mean, like, I'm not a fan of apps as such, and the reason for that is you got the entertainment people that are making these
Mm,
apps. Some of these are there's good ones and there's bad ones, and then you end up it's a needle in a haystack to find out which is the good one and which is the bad one.
yeah.
The problem with apps is, and people have this argument. Well, the radio gives out audio, and you haven't got a recording of that audio to compare it with, but you
Mm,
can do it with sound banks and application.
mm-hmm.
You know, if something comes up on the app, it is possible to, in theory, to have that piece of audio in its raw form to compare it with, but with apps you don't get the raw audio. But in theory, I have messed around with audio banks, reversing, chopping up, and adding frequencies and stuff like that. And I try to make an app, a sound bank on an SD card and plug it into a little radio like so.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I try to do it, I end up with an EVP.
Yeah.
Help me in that. And the audio I normally use is French.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even English, and it's backwards and chopped up, and I'm getting help me and please help and stuff like that come up, while I'm making the sound bank. So I have to cut that little piece out, but I'm picking up the EVP. I'm not picking up I'm not picking up the loud, responses and stuff.
Yeah.
But then again, I don't use them that often. But every so often, I will sit down and I'll make an app, and while I'm making the app, I'll pick up an EVP from backwards audio that's chopped up. So it is a possible thing.
Yeah.
But you know, you if you have Audacity, it's a free sound software.
Yeah.
You know, you get a even a clip of your own stream, a live stream or whatever, two people talking,
Yep.
chop it up, put it back with, add a few bits and pieces, a few tones and stuff like that. That's a sound bank,
Yep.
you know, and that's what goes into little these little apps. Now with the little apps, you got all these little adjustments in a lot of them, and that you know, I like using apps that use live radio and stuff. You know, I would rather have my own radio, but if I was stuck and I says, oh, I could do a paranormal investigation. I would love to do some ITC, but I forgot my spare box. I'll hop on the internet and download a live Spur box, a live
Yep.
Spur box app, and use that. I prefer radios. People have their preferences, They either, it's radios or apps. You know, some people
Mm.
like both, but some people are just diehard radios, don't like
I
apps.
prefer radio.
Yeah, I do prefer radio, but I
Yeah,
do understand that there is manipulation of sound and frequency and stuff, and
yeah,
it's something that I wouldn't discourage not doing. You know what I mean?
yeah, I know what you mean. I think that, if there's someone out there that wants to make a sound bank out of our voices, I think that'd be pretty good. I'm joking.
Yeah, I mean, like, oh,
Mm.
Philip or Caroline, or Philip and Caroline is in the house.
Philip
They're
and Karen.
ghost stories.
Hi,
They're
guys.
they're the only other investigators in Ireland that I actually are in contact with, and I don't know if I don't know if ghost hunting or paranormal research is actually popular in Ireland or not, because I just don't know. I don't see people.
It's such a shame too, because you guys have some amazing places over there, visually appealing, but you think of the history that's in the land over there as well.
Yeah, we're talking about castles and round towers. The round towers were part of monasteries, and the reason why monks had round towers was to protect their valuables
Mhm.
when people like the Vikings come to invade.
Yep.
We've got a lot of famine houses and stuff.
Mhm.
We've got the famine. We
Yep.
have famine graveyards, which some of them are overgrown fields. It's just it's heartbreaking. I've seen some famine graveyards, and there's and cemeteries where you
Yep.
wouldn't know they were cemeteries. We were told, we a long time ago, we were putting a road, a walkway for a park, and we were told not to dig in a certain area because it was a famine graveyard. There
Oh,
was no
wow.
plaque. Nobody knew it was there. It was on the town planning map. That's all. Nobody knew it was there.
That's sad.
You know, so
You
a
know,
lot of these people are forgotten about.
I don't know what people's beliefs are, or the laws or anything there, but has there ever been, because I know in Ireland and in parts of the UK, there are some, even the US, there are some fields or battlegrounds, old battlegrounds, and maybe there's a shoreline somewhere where Vikings invaded and there was a massacre or something. Have you ever gone anywhere like that and tried to do ITC, do a spirit box session, anything?
Um, I mean, like, if places like the island that I go on to, where there is a castle, there's a lot of forts.
Yep.
That area where between Dunry Fort and the beach that I've been on, the last video that I've done where I was at a coast, all
Yep.
that stretch of coastline is full of uh, uh, coastal forts that is
Mhm.
protecting the coastline and stuff like that, or way back when during the war and stuff like that.
Yep.
And even Dunry Fort, just off Dunry Fort, the beach there, there's a big hill, a big hill. I didn't know it at the time, but there is a plaque. Some pilots in World War II plane, 300 miles an hour, crashed into the hillside.
Oh,
Um, you know, it's not a battlefield as such, but when you go back that far in time, it is gruesome.
yeah.
Castles had thick walls for a flipping reason.
Yep.
It's protection from war. I've been on a coastline off Greencastle where the spirit box said, I was shot, I was murdered, and then we're all FUCKAD.
Mhm.
This was a couple of days before, or a couple of weeks before we all ended up being locked down. And I don't know if that what came through on the spirit box did it refer to the worldwide situation, or was it a playback from a bloody incident way back hundreds of years ago?
Yep.
Because earlier I was getting, I was shot, I was murdered, and this is on the beach. I seem to get really
Mm.
clear stuff on the beach, you know? And the
Yeah,
beach is the first piece of land coming in from the sea. And when you're talking about invaders, you're talking about invaders from
from the
other
ocean.
countries that will come in on boats.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
I think it was that session actually that you did, down by the water, and I remember you speaking about it and saying it's some of the best, clearest responses that you'd had for quite some time through the spirit box, and that's what made me think of it. It
yeah,
would be definitely. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, like way back years ago, you're talking about that piece of coastline. It's known for fishing as well,
Yep.
and boats. That coastline, that Donegal coastline, it's beautiful, but it's littered with boats from the war, from fishing. It's just there's so many boats, and sadly, one vessel that I do know of, and I was actually on the vessel. It's a vessel called the Carrigatine. It was a fishing vessel. I went to fish farming college in
Mhm.
Greencastle, and the boat was called Carrigatine. And I actually spoken to some of the fishermen. It's a small, tiny village. There's one or two pubs and one or two shops, and that's it. And we're all put in these different houses, living with families and stuff while we're on in college, kind of thing. And a couple of years after I went to college there, that boat went out and never came back.
Oh,
And there was 19, 20 year olds working on that vessel. you know it just the families don't have anywhere to, they don't have closure.
yeah.
So the coastline is the sea is a very, very dangerous place. It just takes lives. It takes lives indiscriminately,
Yeah.
you know and I don't know if the ITC, is that the reason why the ITC is so good, or is it the ions? People talk about negative ions with seawater and sea air and stuff like that. I don't know, but it is pretty interesting doing ITC on a coastline. The problem is actually wind a lot of the time. Coastal wind and stuff like that. You may be completely calm at your house, and you get to the coastline. It's windy. You know.
Blowing a gale. Yeah.
Yeah, but it is very, very interesting. Coastlines is the first place for invaders to come, and we're talking a lot of the coastline would have rocky cliff faces. You obviously can't invade a country that way. They'll
Mm.
come in on the beaches. They'll come in on the flat land. You know,
Mm.
so there's a lot of history there, and not an awful lot of people go down that route in the paranormal, because it is actually a kind of it's sometimes can be a difficult environment to work in because of weather and stuff.
Has just out of curiosity is one thing I thought of when you were talking about that. Has anyone ever thought about putting a spirit box and a camera of some sort inside of a waterproof container and putting it underwater?
Steve Hope done it.
Did he?
No, he
Okay.
didn't do it. Not a spirit box. It was a DR60 recorder.
Oh, a voice recorder.
Yeah, he put it in a pelican case and he put it in his pool.
No, not the pool.
Oh,
Somewhere where we'll do it our way.
yeah, spirit box. Yeah,
Because I
it's.
don't think I have. I don't think I've ever heard of it.
I think it could be possible. You could have the spirit box connected to a Wi-Fi uh Wi-Fi transmitter,
Hmm.
and you could have it transmitting to a speaker, and you could tie a big rock around a pelican case and send it basically.
Yep.
You know, another
Be
thing.
interesting.
The other thing that was going through my mind is doing a spirit box session in a boat in the middle of the sea or in the middle of a lake or whatever. Spirit box. ITC. You can do ITC anywhere. Do you know?
Yep.
You don't have to be in a haunted location. And actually, Rob came up with an interesting point in his last stream. Was he doesn't agree with bringing a spirit box into an investigation where you're investigating the history of a building,
Hmm.
because you turn the spirit box on. Are you getting communication from possibly the spirits in the location, or are they coming from somewhere else? Because we
Hmm.
have to remember, you can turn on a spirit box and have communication anywhere. You know.
Yep.
So are we adding complications by bringing in a spirit box? Do you know that kind of way? It's a good
Oh,
point, like.
I actually agree. I think definitely because there are. I mean, back when I did my lives, first in my early days, I used to do a spirit box session almost every live, and I had a lot of people coming up onto the live and asking to speak to loved ones, and you'd never hear from loved ones or that, but you would get a great lot of chatter come through, and I think that you can't just call in someone that you want, or you can't just speak to the spirits or beings from one location. I think that they just come from anywhere.
People do investigations and they go into the history, right? And
Mm,
they'll get names and they'll say, "Is Paul here? Is Mary here?" And that I don't do that. I'll just leave it. If
mhm,
Mary or Paul come up, that's brilliant, but I'm not going to push it.
mhm.
Because very often, even from the earlier days, whatever is communicating has a habit of repeating what you've said.
Yep.
So, especially names, do you
Yep,
know? If you come up with names, it's eventually going to come up with names, do you know?
yep,
So I keep names out of it. Yes, the history's great and that, and then I'll leave it to the side. Right, I
yep,
know the history. I know there was a woman called Mary who died here, and there was a guy called John who fell down the well or whatever.
yep.
You know, or there was other children and they lived happily ever after, and they died of old age and blah blah blah. All the good, the bad, the ugly, whatever. That's
Mhm.
great. Tell the story, and then just do the investigation. Just don't bring up Mary or Paul or anything like that. If it comes up in the flipping spirit box, then you're you know to me it's more, there's more strength to it for those names to come up on EVP or on spirit box. If you don't bring up, is there Paul here, or is there John here, or is there Mary here, I just don't do that, because
Mm.
you if you keep doing that, they'll definitely go, yeah, Paul's here, Paul's here, or John's here or whatever. And then you think, are they just copying me? You know?
Mm.
So that's why I
Well,
just leave it. And I
uh,
just,
if you think about it, if you were a spiritual being on the other side, and you were trying to get someone's attention from the living side, and all that person from the living side is saying, "Oh, I want to speak to Paul. Is Paul there?" If you kept saying it, eventually you're going to turn around and go, "Oh, yeah, this is Paul," just so you can talk, aren't you?
yeah, yeah,
You know? Yeah.
yeah. Just like, there's, yeah, they see, for some reason, they see a valley. Here's where I can get attention.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I'm going for it.
yeah.
There may be that other side where they can't communicate through a spurt box or EVP, and that's when you get knocking noises and bangs and stuff like that,
Mhm.
you know. But every time we've done an investigation where we got evidence is completely different than what we ever got before. You never get two pieces of evidence that are exactly the same.
Yeah.
And I've never believed in, the knocking, knocking the wall. If you're here, can you knock back?
Yep.
And back in the early days when I hadn't, I was influenced by other YouTubers and stuff. I was in this abandoned hospital and I was going bang, bang, bang. Can you repeat that if you're here? And that next thing, bang, bang, bang. And I go, oh Jesus. It's knocked back. And then I'm going, oh Christ, there's something here, and I'm going, oh sugar, you know. And I just, why am I scared? I just asked them to knock on the thing and, oh, thank you. And I'm going, fuck, there's definitely something here. And then, you're starting to get your adrenaline is starting to pump at
Yeah.
this stage because you're just new to the paranormal. You have no idea how this all works. Yet you know for a fact there's something there, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And even way back, before I done the paranormal. Now, don't judge me on this. I
Okay.
was influenced by Omar Gosh
Okay.
as a creator, and he'll just say, if you hear or see anything in the background, put it down in the comments. It's a way to get people to comment. But the thing was, sometimes I think, don't quote me on that, and don't sue me, that he may have been feeding small little bits of audio that's barely hearable. You put on your headphones and you hear these.
Mhm.
There was one day I heard this woman, and she just kept, there was these whispers and stuff, and I'm thinking there's too much flipping audio here for it to be true, and that. But I used to say, if you hear or see anything in the background, let me know in the comments and that. And this is me just doing an abandoned explorer. And I remember the first time I got an EVP picked up on camera, and I was looking through this footage at about 10 o'clock at night, and the hair was standing on the back of my head where I stood on a piece of glass in this abandoned hospital, and it says, "You broke it." I did not go to bed that night. I just kept playing that over and over and over again and going, I need to do something about this.
Mhm.
And that's the point where I says, right, I need to do the paranormal again. Or I need to do the paranormal. I used to do ITC way back years ago, but it had
Yeah.
nothing to do with paranormal investigating. I started off the channel on abandoned exploring, you know,
Yeah.
and haunted stories, places where TV shows went.
Yeah.
And to accidentally pick up the first EVP in years by pure accident. I was up the whole night and I played that piece of clip over and over again. And that gave me the fuel to say, I need to do this.
Yeah.
And at that stage, I never shopped on eBay. I never shopped on Amazon. I didn't know how to use online shopping.
You
I
figured
had to
that
get
out soon enough, though.
yeah, the first thing I bought was an EMF detector. I never all I ever seen was it on television.
Yeah.
And I ended up I gate crashed I went to Cumber House to do a video. And the caretaker invited me and he says, I'm just setting up here for I'm uh, setting up here because there's paranormal investigators coming in tonight and tomorrow. And I'm going, ooh, I wonder could I go? I says, well, turn up and you might. Unfortunately, that night on the way out, I seen a rabbit in the dark and I wanted to film it, and I tripped over a fence and I busted my shin and I was in pain and I was covered in crap, so I couldn't go. But the next night, I turned up like a stray cat and I walked into this place with two paranormal teams in there, and I gate crashed and I says, "Could I join you by any chance?" And they welcomed me with open arms. And I looked at the table and I go, "Oh, there's a PSP 7 I seen on the television. Oh, and I came through. I've
Yeah.
seen these on Ghost Adventures, but to actually see it's a PSP 7. Going,
Yep.
wow. That, and I was so fucking pumped. And then, you know, a team that I sometimes work with, Ronnie and those in Peninsula Paranormal. I was walking around with the camera, and basically I was going from place to place and stuff. I was letting them do what they. Ronnie says, come here, see this," and I go, "Wow, it's an SLS camera. There's a stick figure." I go, "Jesus Christ." I go, "Wow." Um, it just, it gave me that incentive to say I need to do this. You
Yeah.
know.
Yep.
So then the equipment buying started and it didn't stop. And it's only stopped recently because there's only certain amount of crap you can get. You know what I mean? It's
Yep.
you get them in all different kind of forms,
Yep.
but at the same time it does the same thing. Most important stuff, cameras and audio.
Yes,
I think
absolutely.
cameras and audio. People say thermal. Thermal is good. Thermal is
Mm.
very good. But for God's sake, don't buy the cheap thermal because all you'll see is squares.
Yeah, you're better off
You
going
know,
for the better one.
we're
Yeah.
talking a lot of money here. Even I
Mhm.
have a Seek thermal reveal. And they have a version for firefighters and stuff, and that is cheap at £315 at the time.
Yeah, that is
Uh,
cheap for
yeah,
thermal. Yeah,
yeah. You know, when you see thermal on TV shows, especially Ghost Adventures, you're talking a
thousands.
lot of money. A lot of money.
Mhm.
You're talking about, you know, up at the top of flare technology. It's really, really expensive.
Yep.
But cameras, audio,
Yeah.
and with all the equipment, I'm thinking, a lot, most of the time that I've arrived on an investigation and lugged out cases and cases of equipment and lined it up on the table, I've only used a few things.
That brings me back to like before I started making YouTube videos, before I got into the paranormal stuff, when I used to watch it before I did it myself. Um, one of I think the first spirit box that I ever saw was through a channel on YouTube who is still there to this day. And they had borrowed a spirit box of one of their friends that their friend had made. And it was one of those old wooden radios. And they had tweaked the radio so that they would just sit there and turn the button and it would scan through them like some of your old radios. And that's the first spirit box I ever saw. It was an old radio.
Yeah, the first the first time I seen ITC was my science teacher showing me uh, uh, videotapes of Marcello Bacci, and I'm sitting
Yeah.
there with the radio and that. There was no spirit box back then. There was no scanning radio. It was 2004, I think it was, when Frank Sumption started altering car radios and stuff like that.
Yep.
Before that, did have a radio. It was a car radio. It was one of them old fashioned, an old fashioned medium wave and AM radio with a tuner and these push buttons with springs in them.
Yep.
There was no cassette player, and you would get them in these old 70s cars and stuff like that. Knew it ran off 12 volts, so I had a socket, a wall socket with a 12-volt transformer. Was able to plug that into it, built a little box around it, and connected it up to a nice little speaker and stuff. And then my teacher took out the tuner on it so I wouldn't get radio stations, and that was direct radio voice at the time. You know,
Wow.
not the scanning method as such, because that didn't come into play until years later. Like, and
Yeah.
that radio is probably still in my home house in the shed somewhere. You know.
Yeah, they sound a lot different to the spirit box we have today. As you said before, they've added static into the PSP 7s and things like that. But yeah, it's just it sounds different.
The thing with radio, with the direct radio voices, it's you need a lot of patience. You're not going to get a huge amount of results in comparison to the scanning radio and stuff like that. Then again, the scanning radio, you've got false positives coming up and stuff like that. If something
Yeah.
comes up on one of these radios that's got no signal going into it whatsoever, then you can say definitely.
Yeah.
A lot of the older people, older researchers won't touch a scanning radio with a barge pole, but we know it works because we've used them. We've done the trials. We've been the trials, all of us.
Yeah. Exactly.
You know. Some are good and some are not so good. Some are very noisy. Even the noisy ones are still getting results. They may be a pain in the ass to go through with your headphones and that. They may give you a flipping headache, but the results still come through. You
Yeah,
know.
they do. I think if besides your camera and audio, if there was one piece of equipment that I had to choose, just one, it would be my spirit box.
Oh
Just for
yeah.
me. Yeah, I love my spirit box.
The great thing about the spirit box is I've had health issues. I couldn't go out to places.
Mhm.
I could do iced TC here, and I have done. I have a whole channel where I've done nothing but ITC here in the house through lockdown. There was for months, every single morning. Got up, put on the kettle, made myself a cup of tea, got my camera set up in front of my radio, and
Yep.
turned it on, and started asking questions while I was having my morning coffee. And it was a routine thing, and I had to break out of that because I needed something different, and I'd taken a break from it, even though I had done so many sessions that they'll come up between now and Christmas. They're coming up every couple of days. I've done that many, so I just says I'll need to take a break for a little while. But
Mhm.
you don't have to go anywhere. If you are a lot of people, a lot of our viewers, some of our viewers are disabled. They can't get out. They love the paranormal, but they can't get out. And
Mhm.
that's why they watch people on YouTube, you know.
Yeah.
And every time I go out, I say, there's somebody that can't get out. We need to do a good job for these people. I in my head, and I would
Yep.
never, ever, ever lie to these people. You know,
Mhm.
YouTube means nothing to me. You know,
Mhm.
YouTube provides me a platform. That's great. But
Yep.
when it comes to numbers, being popular on YouTube, I
Mhm.
couldn't give two monkeys. It doesn't. It has got no value to me whatsoever.
Yep.
When it comes to the paranormal, I don't won't take the praise for it. Whatever's communicating, whatever the spirit world, whatever you want to call it, that's the star of the show. And very often they don't get that. People want people want a pat on the back all the time. A lot of people, when it comes to
Yeah.
YouTube, you get egos.
Yep.
I've just heard a male voice come through. I don't know what that was.
Unless it's my boy. He's not that far away.
It's an older male. This is the
No,
second time I passed it off. Passed it off the first time. I've just heard the same voice now the second time. I could be mistaken, but I'll listen back.
definitely.
You know, but to me, uh, some people want to be the next Marcello Bacci, like Mr. Huff and stuff like that,
Mm.
and they just end up making an idiot of themselves.
Yep.
Put have your heart in the right place. Be interested in what you're doing. Put
Mhm.
put empathy into what you're doing,
Mhm.
but do it for the right reason. A lot of people are doing it for the wrong reason. They're doing it because they want to be popular on YouTube. They want to make money.
Mm.
They want loads of people to look at their videos. They want thousands of views.
Mm.
Doesn't mean anything. It means nothing.
Yeah.
Abs- to get that spur communication, that means everything. But it's that gold is degraded by YouTube, Facebook, and people looking for views, people looking for scary content. That's devalued it, but I still put a lot of value into that. But you have to remember when you think about it really, really closely, you've
Mhm.
got you got something communicating with you that you
Mhm.
cannot see, you cannot explain. That's a special thing.
Yep.
But that's special to a lot of people. It's not special enough because it's not scary and stuff like that. But when you think about it deeply, there's something communicating on a recorder, there's something communicating on a radio, responding to what you're asking. That
Mhm.
is a very special thing.
See, that's where it's so different too. I mean, you've got all these different people. You've got the entertainers, you've got the realists, you've got everything in between. But I find it so disheartening sometimes. Like me, yeah, I make my videos look good and I put a bit of music and stuff in. But when I catch an EVP, a really clear EVP, like for instance, there was a short video that I did at the beginning of this year with my sister. We walked into a cemetery at night to scope this cemetery out. We weren't even investigating. We just walked in to have a bit of a look around and then left. And when I reviewed the footage, I got one of the best EVPs I've ever caught. It was a disembodied voice, and me and my sister were talking, and somebody else goes, shh, really loud, and there was no one else there with us. And I got so excited about that. Like, I was really excited. But people that watch the video, they're like, oh, great video or whatever, you know. They
Yeah,
don't see or feel the excitement that you do because everything else they've seen that is entertainment has numbed them to what
yeah,
they're seeing on yours.
yeah.
You know?
That to you and to me would be a very, very special thing.
Yeah.
It wasn't may not be hugely entertaining,
Mm.
but the real paranormal isn't. Now,
Yep.
I don't have any, well, for the large part, I don't have any problem with people that make entertaining content.
No, me either.
You've got people, I shouldn't really mention names, but they started off with good paranormal content, really true paranormal content,
Mhm.
and then they see a way of getting more views, getting more watch time, getting more money,
Yep.
and they go for it. They pull a few stunts. Next thing, it turns into fiction,
Mhm.
and next thing they've got 100,000 subscribers, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and they're able to buy a nice car, they're able to buy a nice house and stuff like that. They've
Yeah.
created a job for themselves.
Mhm.
But the other part of me is saying you're disrespecting the paranormal.
When they say it's real and it's not.
Yeah, that's where there's that's where there's a
Yeah,
problem. But even with horror films, I always think it's disrespecting the paranormal. I don't watch them.
I
Do you
won't
know?
either.
Yeah. Mark
Guilty.
Davis is in the house. Hello, Mark. Long time no
Hello.
see. I had taken a break from YouTube. I done a couple of videos of me sitting in the car talking crap. That's all I've done in the last couple of weeks. So good to see you. Mark actually has one of the spur boxes I have that Rob Hernandez built.
Oh, one of the nice ones.
Yes, the one that
Yep.
looks like a Joe's box. Yeah,
Yep.
it's a pre- it's a pretty good piece of kit. You know.
They sound amazing, those boxes.
Yeah, I mean, mine has been packed up in its little pouch for the last 4 weeks. I haven't touched it.
Mhm.
I think the reason for that is wasn't mentally in the right place to do a spur box session.
Yeah.
Uh, you have to be in a sort of a proper. You have to be in a proper place. If you're doing a spur box session and you're in your back of your mind, you're worrying about something else in your real life. Better off take a step back for a little while and
Yep.
when you're doing the spur box, put all your energy into that if you can. If you're distracted by something else, just
Leave it.
just just leave it for another time.
Yeah, because it does affect it, believe it or not. I believe it does anyway.
We all sit in the car. Do you know we all sit in the car talk crap, especially at bad drivers? Do
Yes. Yes.
you know the thing about driving in the car and putting the camera on? Because a lot of people use their phone. I have a little. It's a body camera. It's right in front of me. Actually, it's a little. I do so much with this camera. It's got amazing night vision. You're driving along. You're concentrating on the road. Your mind is on the road, and you're talking like as if there's somebody in the seat beside you.
Yep.
You're not focusing on the camera because you're concentrating on the road. You're concentrating on your driving, and the conversation flows a bit better.
Yep. I
Do you
agree.
know? You can be yourself. You're not sitting there. A lot of people. We all go through it. I'm going to do a video. I need to talk about something. You put the camera there, and you're going, "Is my hair okay?" And then you're looking at the camera. Is this angle okay? And then next thing you start talking, and I say, "Do I sound okay?" You got all these flipping things in your mind and stuff like that. When you're driving a car, you don't give a crap. You just drive in the car. You
Yeah,
know?
you're more focused on the road, so you can just
Yeah,
talk freely. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. People were asking me to bring that back, and I did, but I don't want to overdo it either. Like, you know what I mean?
Yep.
I drove around a lot yesterday, and to try and find a place so I could show people, it was one of those dark, miserable, pissy days, and the roads were just covered in crap.
Yep.
By the time I had finished driving, it looked like I've gone through the Rally of Finland. I mean, there was muck everywhere. Um, I didn't get out for a single part of it. And towards the evening, just after Rachel's work, I rang Rachel. Do you mind if I call in and stuff? So, oh yeah, I'm finishing in half an hour. I called to Rachel's house. It stops raining. It rained the whole flipping day up until that point, and I was too flipping tired to do anything at that point. Then, you know.
Yep.
But I think I'm sort of getting back to it. trying to get out and stuff, but I know it's a little bit too late because the weather is starting to change and stuff.
Yeah, you're getting the cold weather because you guys are going back into winter, aren't you? Because 'Cause we're going into
Yeah.
summer now. Yeah, yeah. But you have a lot of rain. Well, the UK has a lot of rain still in the summertime and springtime. Do you in Ireland as well?
Oh, we get rain flipping all the time.
You do. Okay.
Do you know,
So
it's a it is a wet country, do you know?
yeah. Yep.
Do you know? Um, summer, winter, all the time. We could be lucky to have a couple of days of dry weather in a week, sort of thing. It can go both ways, The
Oh wow.
summertime, you can either have a good summer or a bad summer. A bad summer is a summer of flipping rain in every couple of days. It
Yep.
just, it's yeah, you know. Uh, Areas like Australia and stuff, there's other countries, drier countries where, you'll see a lot of the older cars.
Yeah.
You don't get as much in the UK and Ireland because it's just raining. It just rots the bottoms of
Yeah,
cars.
they rust
You
out.
know, yeah.
Yep.
And in drier countries, you don't get that rot and stuff like that. But we have a lot of rain. We have a lot of rain. The last week we've had nothing but rain.
I think this year is the weather's completely out of whack too, because I know that so far this spring we have probably already had records for the amount of rainfall in spring. Like we've had a lot of rain here.
Yeah.
Yeah, more so than usual. Constantly grey and miserable, can confirm. Oh, my roots come from UK Island. Most of my heritage roots, anyway.
Yeah.
Also heading into summer in South Africa. Oh, nice. Oh, summer in Australia is ridiculous. We have days in the middle of summer that are over 40 degrees Celsius.
Oh
It gets,
no.
yeah, it gets really hot here, and it's like a dry heat,
We
really
get
dry.
20. If we get 25 to 30. We're complaining because we're not used to it.
In summer.
Yeah, but we
Oh
had we had
wow.
a we've had a couple of weeks. We've had a short period of time this summer where it was 25 to 30 sort of thing,
Wow.
and we done nothing but complain about it.
Well, the summer just gone. There were a couple of times when we were streaming, and you guys would get on. You'd have your fan going, and you'd be like, "Oh, it's 24 degrees today," and I'd be
Yeah.
like, "Well, that's not that hot."
Oh, we don't anything above anything around the 20 degrees. I'm happy enough with that, but anything further than that, you know, we're not sleeping at night. Some people like a really hot weather. Some people can't cope. I just not one of those people that can cope with hot weather.
Yeah.
You know,
I-
we're not used to it.
If I could have weather that was constantly kind of around that 25 to 30 degree, I'd be happy with that.
Ooh.
It's still warm for you.
Oh no. I just no around the 20 mark, just nice and comfortable.
Yeah.
You know.
I think
Um,
that's around the weather we're having now. It's between that kind of 17 to 20.
I suppose. I suppose people, people adapt to it. You know what I mean? They just get used to it. You can't complain forever. Like, say, if we did get 25 to 30-degree weather every single day, it comes to a point where you just can't complain about it anymore because you'd be complaining every day. And I suppose your body sort of adapts to conditions, you know?
Yeah, yeah, it does. I just checking the weather over here, and you know how I was telling you we've had a lot of rain. So here next week, oh, Friday tomorrow we have sunshine, and then we have rain forecast for every single day.
Yeah, Rachel was saying today is going to be 19 to 20 degrees, and I'm saying, well, that's not bad for, coming into autumn and that. And it says here 19 degrees, but it's flipping pissing. It's dull and it's yucky, just like yesterday, you
Yeah.
know. But that's what happens when you go into the autumn, winters and stuff. I have parts
Yep.
from my car that I want to get on and stuff like that, and I just can't do it because I just don't have indoor space for it. Because you try to get it done and you get set up and stuff like that, you just get caught up with rain. You have to just, you know,
Mm.
y- you need that you need a good window of time, and you're not just not guaranteed it.
Yep.
Just like when I put in the seats, I got caught up with the last seat, and it just happened to be the driver's seat. The seat was sitting outside the car. I had the other one out, ready to put in the other one, and next thing it just came flipping straight down and soaked that driver's seat.
Oh, you're kidding.
Yeah, I just didn't have time to put it into the car. I just got caught up. I had to run and put it into the hallway. And yeah, that evening I had a wet bum. It bring me back to the time I had the convertible with the leaky roof, where I had
Oh
a
God.
wet, yeah, you know. But yeah, yeah, yeah. You could have something planned to do, save your tools out, and you're all set up and everything. And if you're working outside and it starts raining and that, you have to gather it all up and start. You know what I mean? You have to, it's not like working inside and that. The
Yep.
weather's unpredictable, you know.
Yep. Yeah. If it comes down like that with no warning, geez.
Mm,
It's-
you know, but yeah, 2 summers with no investigations done. The first one we all suffered. This past summer, I had health issues, so very
mm.
frustrating. But
And with the
hopefully,
world the way it is.
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
You know, I had to look after myself first, sort of
Yeah,
thing.
you do.
Having a channel is great and all the rest of it, but does it really matter if I have loads of subscribers? We've have an average of 10 people on today
Mm.
listening to us. That's brilliant. I'm
I
happy
think
with
it is.
that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Some people say, "Oh, it's only 10 people." I'm not a YouTuber. It's not the way I think anymore.
Yeah.
I film things that I like, and whether it's paranormal or whether it's scenic or if it's touristy or whatever, I can look back. Maybe in a lot of years I might get a bit senile and I start forgetting stuff. I forget stuff anyway.
She can look back on it.
It's a
I,
it's
I
a video diary.
exactly. I think as long as you're happy, you're doing what you want to do, you're happy with what you're doing, and you're not hurting anyone, I'd say that keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, I don't look into the business side of things.
No.
Yeah, but people if people are making a business from it, it's great because they're making their own employment. Hats off to them, and that it's just I
Yep.
just don't. I'm more free flowing that way. I don't have to.
Hmm.
I used to be obsessed with numbers, but now I just don't care. I just really don't. I just let it go. I just let it. I do what I want to do because I want to
Exactly.
do it. Sometimes we can be influenced by people saying, "Oh, do this, do that." Go back to this place, go back to that place, and sort of thing. And very often people will ask, "What should I do next, guys?" You know, you
Mm.
know. Um, I just do what I want to do, kind of thing. And if
Hmm.
people want to watch, brilliant. If they don't want to watch, there's other people out there that will suit them. That kind of thing.
Yep.
But
I
I
think
don't
it's
take
all part of the journey.
I don't take people for granted either. Like, and if you had a big channel and loads of people commenting and loads of people liking and loads of people commenting on your stream,
Mhm.
you can't be as personal with them because there's too many people,
That's very true.
and that's why I think small content creators are good too.
Yeah, I think so too. I
Do you
really
know?
do.
Do you
I
know?
think that we've all been at the point where we've being obsessed with numbers, and then you forget about that because it's not about that, and then you're obsessed with, well, am I doing the right thing or not? And then you figure out in the end, well, this is what I want to do, and I'm going to do it my way. And sometimes you just got to take a break. Like me, for instance, I haven't live streamed for a little while on my channel, and it's just because I'm at that point where I just need that break from mine,
Yeah,
and I'll do it again when I'm ready. And yeah, you just gotta take care of yourself first and foremost.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, we'll be behind you when you do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, thank you.
Um, you know, and you're
Yeah,
always welcome on this.
thank you.
I think with
Mhm.
lives, I think for me, I need someone to bounce off. I can't just go live on my own sort of thing.
Me too.
I need someone to bounce off, and we
Yeah,
don't never. We may have a rough idea, I mean, like Brett would come up with topics and stuff, and we go around those topics. But sure, we end up talking about all sorts of things afterwards, and
yeah.
some of it ends up being very funny.
Yeah,
You know
yeah,
that kind of way. We're not, you know what I mean. We don't have much planning as such.
yeah,
Sometimes when Brett done, specific subjects and that, and he would plan things to come up on screen and stuff like that, and he does he does sometimes do things like that, but otherwise it's free flowing. It's just you know.
one of the best streams that we had, us 3, I think, was, like, on my channel, was where I did those, multiple choice things. Remember how I read the story out and you had to
Oh
choose
yeah,
different things? That was brilliant.
yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, like it sort of it brought a bit of humor into it too. Like
yeah, it did.
especially I was getting them all wrong, and I'm going flipping out. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
one of my favorite streams was way back a couple of years ago when I was on with Elemental Encounters on his stream,
yeah,
and this guy came on called David, and I was in a kind of a funny sort of a mood. I was in a kind of a jokey kind of a prankster mood,
yeah,
and everything he came up with, I came up with a funny answer, and it ended up. Uh, what do you call it? My head's elemental encounters. Andy, he was crying, laughing on stream, and every time I'm in a bad mood, I go back to that stream and just look at it and just tear up laughing all over again. Do you know?
yeah,
It was flipping hilarious. But some of the stuff that we come up with, it just was naturally funny. It just didn't wasn't it wasn't planned. It just accidentally came up to be funny. Do you know?
yeah,
Many of the slip ups and that, and we've taken the mick out of each other and stuff, and it just was hilarious. Like you know,
yeah. So, who was it? Carl said, "What's happening with the Philip experiment?" So, what happened with the Philip experiment was, we kind of ran with it for a while until, unfortunately, Brett got sick again, and that's why all 3 of us stopped doing the videos together because he got sick, and it just kind of went stale from there for a while. But toward the end there, the last couple of streams we did where we were talking about the Philip experiment and did a few spirit box sessions with Sam, we actually had a lot of the names from the Philip experiment come through the spirit box and that without us
yeah,
asking.
Yeah, the thing that complicates things is
Mhm.
the three names that are coming up constantly on ITC for me is
Mhm.
Edge, who's coming up on Rob Hernandez. I never got Edge until I started buying his boxes, and I was only getting it on that box, on that particular box that he bought, and then it went to coming up on all the radios I have. So we've got Edge, we got Dave, and we got Philip. So Philip has been coming up anyway
Yeah, but
on
we
some of
didn't
my,
name him. Yeah, but we didn't name him Philip. I can't remember. I've got in my, because I've moved house since then too, so all my stuff's packed up. But
oh yeah,
in the notebook, I can't remember what we called him. We gave him a
that's
weird
right.
name. Yeah.
That's right. We didn't
It-
call him Philip. Yeah,
No.
we did get results in that way. In that way, we got a number of different names, kind of thing. The
Yep.
the the the, the trick to this is not to say is so and so there. Don't bring up
Yes.
name at all. Don't bring the name up at all. Bring up hints of things. There was times where I asked, "Is so and so real?" And they say, "No, it's fake." There was one. There was one. I can't remember what session I done, but they said so and so is fake. You
Wow.
know. So I was trying to bring it in, and I was trying to sneak it in, and they said, "No, you can't go there. You made them up. It's fake." You know.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So it's kind of weird. Yeah, it's kind of weird.
I'm just saying
You know.
goodbye to Seago.
Yeah,
Bye,
thanks very
Seago.
much. Thanks very much for coming in. I think we're gonna finish. I think we'll finish up. I didn't even have breakfast yet, so we've been
Yep.
gone going on for we've been on for 1 hour and 42 minutes, and
Good, good.
in that time we had about 10 people. So thanks very much, and I presume it's starting to get late in Australia and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
but thank you very much for coming on with me because.
Thank you for having me.
I wasn't quite sure was I going to be on my own today, and I was
No,
going,
I
"What am
wouldn't
I
do
going
that.
to?" It's kind of nerve wracking, if you planned for, and I was wondering, did you get the message or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's when anytime I go on stream, you're free to come on. You're part of the family, as they say on
Thank you.
YouTube. That kind of way. You know. Hopefully, we'll do it again next week, and we sort of keep
Yeah,
it up a bit because
we
it's
should.
something different for us. It's something different from us than the usual stuff that we do. You know,
Exactly.
I think people like lives. They like getting involved, and then they talk to each other as well. You know,
Exactly. I think
this
so
is
too.
this is a very weird time in the UK to do a paranormal live stream. It's usually nighttime people do it, but then people watch other paranormal investigations and stuff.
Mhm.
Not many people are doing the morning ones. Then I started
Yeah.
doing it, and then other people started copying me.
Nah.
Not mentioning anybody's names, but yeah, the morning streams actually do kind of work. It especially works with the Australian, people. But then some people they wake up and they have a cup of coffee and they turn on YouTube and they see what's on. Very often there's not much on, you know,
Yep.
in the mornings in the UK sort of thing. So I thought, it's a good time.
They can
It's
sit
different.
down and watch us.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm going to finish up. I want to thank everybody that's come on. Sorry, I haven't. I'm so rusty. I've had this StreamYards thing underneath us the whole time. I've never thought about
I didn't want to interrupt you and tell you, so I just
uh
kept it
you know
going, kept it flowing.
clicking on these things and I forgot about all of this. You know, and what I normally do is I normally try and get everybody's comment up. You know,
Yep.
and I'm so rusty I completely forgot. You know, so sorry about that, but I'll get back into the flow of it.
Yeah, definitely.
It's
Takes
easier to
time.
read. It's easier to read it when it's up on the screen too.
It is, especially when your eyes aren't that good. Like
Yeah,
me.
yeah, yeah. I'm going to head off, folks, because I'm actually I'm holding this wire because there's something electronically wrong here. You know.
Thank you everyone for coming in.
Okay, folks. Hopefully, see you next week. Keep an eye out on the channel for upcoming streams. And if you're not subscribed to Julie, why not?
Thank you.
Go over to Julie's. Julie does streams similar to what we do. We're often on there, so it's adding more streams to the thing. You know,
Yep,
you know.
absolutely.
So see you hopefully next week, folks. Bye.
Absolutely. Bye.